Now we're starting. All right, welcome to the Glassists podcast. It's been a while, but now we're
It's been too long.
discussing the care of health.
Keeping healthy, by the
The
way,
care
if
of health,
you guys
yes.
can tell.
Um, so let's have Mr. Nissan start us off.
I really appreciate healthcare.
Yes.
just like
such
slowly
a such
looks
a
at,
quality intro.
slowly looks at the guy holding the gun to his head. I
In the
like
teleprompter.
healthcare. It is the best thing to happen since sliced bread,
Pizza.
sliced pizza. Just before they eat like fucking entire unsliced pizza.
All right.
Sometimes I think Nissan would enjoy having routine checkups at the garage because even though Nissan is a quality car company, quality car companies needs to have their cars checked out every once in a while. Maybe 6,000 miles. Okay. Maybe every few months they needed an oil change, and sometimes I think this would be beneficial if the cost of routine checkups were lower for humans as well.
I see. Yeah, things are kind of expensive, my guy.
So actually, I actually have a story behind this because
Is this a story
actually really
all about
actually
how
really
your life got
actually re-
turned upside down?
stop. It's actually relating to a story I was talking about with everybody before is being recorded about my medication kind of having a couple of issues. Um, Thankfully, despite having Kaiser, apparently we're on this weird other like sub plan or something that allows us to have our medication filled out anywhere. So that's lucky. But I was shocked to kind of see how easy like I'm happy to see how easy it is to see the different prices for different medication for the same medication if you fill it out at certain places. So like if I remember correctly, I think I have the Google Doc here. Uh I think I have, yeah, it's here in my medical records. Cons do you guys continue talking. I'm just gonna see if I can find it.
All right. I mean, shit's expensive. I don't know. Like,
I think that if you want to own a gun, that should be your constitutional right.
But this
we
isn't the
discussed
topic,
guns
though.
last time, though.
But if you get shot, then you'll need healthcare to fix you.
So what are you trying to say here, man?
What I'm trying to say is that you should be able to own a gun and you should have the freedom to, if you get shot by a gun, to have your health care stop you from dying.
I see.
This is a little
Is
weird.
that wait?
And I think that I kind of say that this kind of as kind of like a space filler, but I guess to kind of tie it back into the main thing, I think getting shot by a gun. I don't think many people plan to do that on a daily basis.
Only on a
Maybe
daily
that's your
basis.
things, but I don't think most people like, want to get shot by a gun that often. But like the point is, if something really drastic happens to you, like for example, you accidentally get shot by a gun, like something like drastic happens to your medical, well-being, you should not go bankrupt because of that. which is
Okay.
what a lot happens to a lot of people,
There we
unfortunately.
go. Okay, I found
And
it.
So then, okay.
who can't
How
afford,
come?
like that, like that sudden, like thing that happened to them. Maybe a more common thing is, like, your grandpa, has a sudden heart attack you didn't expect. Now you have poor resources because he can't afford it, or that kind of stuff. Or you got into a car accident. You shouldn't have to lose your life savings just to, not die.
Well, I
Let's have
mean,
Cone take the stage.
I think when it comes to like, especially when it comes to like life threatening illness, I don't entirely think that uh, the way that hospitals have priced their shit is entirely fair to everybody,
Yeah,
anybody.
to
Like,
people who actually want to get like, shit and whatever.
well, I
Um,
mean, like saline is insanely expensive.
I
At
remember apparently, so when my boyfriend was in the hospital and they were asked if they wanted something for pain, they were given uh 2 pills of Advil and they paid $50 just for that. 2 capsules. And
if
not
you
like a
think
whole bottle or anything.
They're
if you
like
think
5,000 milligrams each.
I don't remember the exact amounts.
I mean, if you think that that's bad, I mean, think about how bad saline is. You guys know what saline is. It's just like in salt water.
Salt
Right.
water to a specific degree.
Yeah, it's salt water at a very like specific thing. The cost to produce it is really low. Like it's really low.
Yeah.
But like getting it at a hospital is like 100 something bucks.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Why? Like why? It's why would a fucking salt water? I mean, okay, I know this is gonna sound like you theoretically could make your own saline, granted not as high quality, but you could make your own and have it cost you like cents.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, I understand, um, doctors do some pretty good work, but like, the reason why their pay is usually so high is because of, you know, unless they're a surgeon, it's because of medication, and that's how they make a lot of their money through medication, and that's because in the first place it's overpriced. A good portion of the things that, for medication, they sell it for way more than it costs to make. Um,
Yeah. So like for instance, I take Adderall. That's one of the medications I'm prescribed. I'm only prescribed two medications. The other one is sertraline, which is its like common name is Zoloft. Right now, I've been kind of dealing with the whole insurance thing because I'm in a different state from where I was, and everything's kind of weird. Thankfully, again, everything's kind of been resolved. But we were talking, me and my provider were talking about like what I was going to have might have to do in the event that my insurance doesn't actually transfer over a year, and that I have to actually purchase my medication without insurance.
ooh,
And so just to show you like kind of have the difference here, I have a doc that's been written up by the healthcare provider. So Zoloft is an over the counter med. You don't need anything special for it. You just need a prescription. That's all. As long as you're prescribed it, you're fine. But Adderall is heavily regulated, mainly due to fucking stupid college kids. And I swear to God, if I find anybody who does that, I will wring their neck.
I forget what the point of Adderall is for like.
I'll help you.
Adderall is kind of to focus you. It's kind of to
No, no, no. I know
I
its main purpose. I mean, why do people do it besides being prescribed it? I forget what it is for.
Well, it's exactly that. It's so that well, because people that are normal to be offensive about it.
It's neurotypical, but you could have.
Neurotypical. I don't care about being normal anymore. Fuck it.
Um,
But like neurotypical people, when they take Adderall, the effect is much more pronounced. It's a lot more extreme than you would normally think it would be. Mainly because the people that are supposed to get it are fucking people that need it. So, so because it's regulated, especially in California, where it is much more regulated, I'm just going to go down a chart. So for Zoloft, if you wanted to get it filled at a Walmart and pick it up, it's $9 for 30 tablets and 24 for 90. Pretty good price, honestly. Not too bad.
yeah, that's fine.
Here's Adderall. $42.71 for 30 tablets. $111 for fucking 90
Good luck.
at Walmart. At Costco, it's 76. A lot more reasonable.
Well, yeah, but that's
for
Costco.
90.
Everything's cheaper at Costco.
Well, it's also the same at Ralph's, which is basically Fred Meyer. So the 30 day dose is $30, rather reasonable, I'd say. Getting your Zoloft filled for the exact same amount of pills, is $6.52 at Costco.
Epic.
It's $13 for 90. Again, to kind of compare that, 90-day at Costco is $13.52. A 90-day at a Costco for Adderall is $76.33. By weight and by complexity, Adderall is far less expensive to make than Zoloft. But merely because of the regulation behind it, which again I understand, but I really wish the college students that did it died before they ever got a chance to touch the stuff.
Talking about like meaning it's a harder drug.
It's harder to get a hold of because people were being stupid, and it sucks for people like me who need the stuff and would rather not if they don't have insurance. If they're unlucky enough to not have insurance, I would like to not have to pay $76 or $30.
All right, now we can transition into another topic I wanted to bring up, which is the fact that kind of should everyone get healthcare, and how should we do that more specifically?
I think that people should have health care.
All right, yeah. All right.
But then you gotta add the why.
Not
how.
why, mostly how. I think it's pretty
Well,
easy
I
to figure out
can't answer why because I think that people should have health care.
I feel like healthcare should be kind of a right of people. At least basic healthcare.
I think the way the system works now, it needs work, but there is no alternative solution being proposed by our sick leader, and that kind of worries me because his entire one of his basic plans was to tear it down, and then you'd ask, what are you going to replace it with?
Yeah, and there was no plan to replace it.
Fucking silence.
Yeah, and I would like to remind everyone that when he was still I think this was before he even won the Republican nomination, back when he was just campaigning, he made promises that I'm going to give everyone health care. My health care will be better than we have ever seen in the United States. It's going to be the best health care. Everyone will get health care. No one will be left behind. And then, obviously, nothing came
And
of
then
that.
yeah,
I don't want people to forget about that everyone seems to forget that Donald Trump promised everyone health care and did like a complete 180 on it as soon as gone into
As he has done
office.
with other things, but
Yeah, one of the many things I should clarify. Yeah.
but I think in general, healthcare for at the very least pre-existing conditions should be considered for anybody who has
I
them.
completely agree, especially with people who, have pre-existing conditions. Because some insurances will deny you because you have pre-existing conditions, which I find, you know,
Dumb.
dumb. Yeah.
Weird.
I personally find that abhorrent on just a human level.
Okay.
I think the really sad part is if you actually look at a lot of politicians, and their political, BS mouth speaking, what a lot of them will say, even people who objectively want to do things to take away protections for people with the pre-existing conditions is that's the sad part. No one actually wants to admit what they're doing. You take a look at, for example, and maybe the viewers aren't as familiar with specific politicians, but you take a look at the 2020 Senate elections, and you have a candidate like the Republican Senator Martha McSally in Arizona, who says, "Oh, that they will absolutely defend people with pre-existing conditions," and then also do shit like try and get rid of Obamacare and do everything to take away protections,
Yeah.
but still say, "Oh no, I want to protect them," you know, and no one bothers to actually research votes, and
And
whether
what they've actually done as
yeah,
a
they,
political
they just
candidate.
look at it and say, "Oh, she said she does, so
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah."
Um, n- I'll get more specific then, since we've had literally no discourse because we've agreed on everything. Uh, Single payer or public
I
option?
disagree. I disagree. I disagree.
Can you explain what that means?
Oh, single
Mo?
payer or public option? So single
Correct.
payer is putting healthcare under one banner basically in one company. It's controlled by the government basically, and then everyone pays for their healthcare through taxes, but everyone's covered. Um,
Okay.
Public option is there are multiple companies, um, and you can choose which one you want. And there are a couple ways of doing this. Either the government may subsidize, your payment for healthcare, maybe just the basic plan for their healthcare, or may or the government can give their own option as well to the public options, um,
So it's kind of like the government
basically for free.
competes with other companies.
Yeah, the
I,
government either
I,
competes with other companies or it's just one government thing.
I
There's
think
also I don't mean to interrupt, but there's a lesser known option that I'm gonna do a really bad job of explaining this because it's a lot of layers deep. But Germany, for example, and Japan have a hybrid system where basically you have two options. You can either go completely to the private health insurance companies and work out whatever you want with them, a private entity, or conversely, you can go to the government for their healthcare plan, but at the same time select private companies work directly through the government. Well, so they're still private technically, but they're basically with the government. And you get a government plan, but you can also use those specific companies. Again, I'm talking within the government to add quote unquote tiers to your healthcare plan, if that makes any sense. For example, a basic healthcare plan for a diabetic, they have insulin and needles, but maybe you want to upgrade to the next tier and get the Dexcom, that kind of stuff. So there's a hybrid system that exists as well, kind of like a
Yeah,
middle ground almost.
I get what you mean. I find it
Yeah.
Honestly, that
ironic. Right now I'm triple covered because my dad, his work gives him healthcare for his whole family. So, I'm part of that, obviously. And I'm not 18 yet, so, I get a bunch of stuff like that. My mom is now working for unemployment, so I get benefits from that. And then my stepdad is also working for unemployment, so I get twice as many benefits from that. So I am triple covered. So I don't actually have much to worry about, ironically, yet this is an interesting topic. I just feel bad for other people because I know many people have it way worse off.
Oh yeah, there are people that are way worse off than me, but I mean, I'm currently dealing with the dilemma of money during college during the pandemic. So
Yeah,
that in of itself was a rather worrying thing, and I didn't because my parents are already going through a bit of stress with the finances because the place that I'm going to is not exactly cheap, and so I'm being put in debt, but the amount of money they're putting into me is substantial. So the fact that I would want to have considered maybe not being on the insurance, maybe not actually being on the insurance because it wouldn't apply to me here was rather scary because I would immediately go into fucking debt.
yeah,
Like if I was dropped cold turkey by my parents, I'd be absolutely screwed.
definitely.
Like because this medication I take, it isn't like optional. That shit's required.
Yeah,
So me having to pay every 3 months $76 for my Adderall, and then on top of that, uh, $13 at minimum. That's already pretty high. And then you combine that with groceries and whatever, and that's already exorbitant. So I'm very lucky to have the situation I'm in, but good lord, I feel bad for anybody, and I wish that their coverage was more equal. I think that I think Japan's health care coverage is actually rather neat.
yeah.
I like that idea.
The idea sounds intriguing. I haven't heard much of it before because mostly I've been introduced to, the main two things we hear about, obviously. Single payer and
Yeah,
public
like
option.
an easy way to think about it and just, oversimplify, but basically it's like that weird like halfway point, like a hybrid system.
I get what you
Yeah.
mean. Um,
Yeah.
all right. Um, now,
Interestingly enough, in both Japan and Germany, the vast majority of people choose the public option with like the tier setting where they can like option up in the system
isn't it
just because,
interesting that the Axis powers have the better healthcare?
yeah, Italy has pretty good healthcare too, I'm pretty sure,
Uh,
you know.
I'm fairly certain that it's pretty good healthcare, but the losers of World War II have better healthcare than us.
Yeah,
although
Italy
it although
changed teams.
although
Except
when
Italy, but Italy's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
well I, I don't think Italy would be the best example because I don't think healthcare is really their major concern. I think it's mostly their very archaic laws.
Italy's been an interesting case ever since, well, ever.
Yeah, they've
Ever.
been very, especially when it comes to women, very
Can you
interesting case.
expand on that?
Which I
I'll be honest. I'm gonna show my ignorance. I have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, neither do I.
uh, Italy was up until like the late 19th century. They still had the same archaic law that considered that women were basically property, if I remember correctly.
Sounds
Yeah.
about right.
Yeah, not exactly the best look for a country.
Yeah.
Well, that's
can't
Italy.
can't win them all.
Especially not world wars.
Yeah. Change teams.
Changes teams.
Yeah.
Red versus blue.
I saw like an interesting meme where it was like the I'm blanking out on his name, and you're gonna make fun of me for forgetting his name. Titanic guy, um, and it's like the meme of him like laughing, and it's like the caption was when people make fun of you for switching teams, but your country didn't get nuked and or split in half by two different countries.
I mean, it's a pretty true fact.
Yeah.
In any case, we're getting a bit off topic.
Yeah, we are. Here, I'll bring us back on topic. What would be considered required treatments?
Well,
Like for that the healthcare would have to pay for? Because there are some things that are sometimes considered strenuous that, like, take for example therapy. Even though some people will need it,
yeah,
but in every case of healthcare I've ever seen, that's usually an added on cost, and only if you have like specific healthcare things you can get that.
you have to get you have to get a very, very, very specific plan in order to cover therapy.
And that plan is normally really expensive too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The most interesting way it was thought about was actually one that my English teacher brought up. He's a cool dude. But he said if it decreases the chance of death, and the chance of death is very likely, or well, he said at the time like at least like I think it was like at least 20%, then yes, it would be counting as required. Like take for example therapy when someone's going through depression, that decreases the suicide chance by I don't remember how much, but a good portion.
A pretty good percent, yeah.
And then another example that I know pretty well is trans people who go through transition. Before transition, they have like a 80% chance of suicide if they aren't allowed treatment. And then after transition, they have about a 50% chance of suicide. Still terrible odds, but it's much better.
Yeah, never tell me the odds.
Yeah.
That quote out of context is not good.
But yeah, like these things I can understand.
I like that thinking because if you have like, there's a difference between like a tumor that or like a cancer that like makes your life difficult or literally threatens your life to the point where you have like a couple like months left to live.
Yeah.
And a tumor that doesn't disrupt you in any shape, way, or form, and it could literally does nothing to you.
Well,
just like a
mainly
benign
what I
tumor.
mean here is if it's life threatening. But the thing is, most people when they think of life threatening, they don't count in mental health, including insurance. They don't count in mental health, which is my main issue, which is always my main issue. And that has been my main thing ever since I've been part of this podcast, anyways. A lot of insurance companies don't consider mental health, and a lot of people in general don't consider mental health.
I find that to be rather bullshit because especially if you have severe depression or schizophrenia or anything like bipolar, I think therapy certainly helps out with a lot of those issues, and it helps reduce a lot of different things from happening. It helps. Oh, it's not stabilize. It just helps. It just generally helps, I would say.
Yeah,
It, therapy can be a source for helping people recover from traumas that put them at risk of hurting themselves or even hurting others,
yeah,
especially hurting others. There are far too many people. Like, I mean, you think about serial killers. Just look at the mental illnesses they had. Had they gone through, if had they gone through intensive therapy, I don't think. I think that there are quite a few that could have been, I don't know, helped away from a path of,
yeah, yeah, of course.
murder.
Um,
It,
the thing is, there are a couple main issues here. Um, One, the politicians don't give a fuck. Um, so that's one issue that I know about pretty well because politicians don't talk about it really. And then also, in general, at least in the American culture, like those with mental illnesses are stigmatized, like, and those who like think they might have something generally try to ignore it or don't go to therapy because they think they'll be stigmatized.
Well, I want to be fair, 'cause I think you have a lot of points, but I think when you take a look at our country and our culture as a society, I would say, well, we're not good. I would say we're still about middle pack, especially when you have countries like Japan and South Korea where mental illness is so stigmatized that people would rather kill themselves than just be stigmatized,
Yeah,
which is
that's
also
true.
why they have a much higher. So yeah, trust. To be fair, it's still bad here, but I
well, but
definitely wouldn't say we're the worst.
not only
I think
that, but
not
it's
only that, but oh, sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
it,
It's cool.
it's not just stigmatized in like adults, in children. My father has a student that has parents that just like are like almost like the champions of willfully like thinking that their child does not have a mental illness when it's just very 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 fucking clear that they have a delay, and the culture that they grew that they are in just has them stigmatized, has mental health stigmatized to the point where they just don't want to believe that a kid of theirs could have this mental illness. They don't want to believe it because, oh, their child is perfect. No, there's nothing wrong with them. And I think above all else, that is the most damaging thing.
Yeah, especially, someone who ignores it and doesn't seek help. Speaking from personal experience, yeah, it doesn't work well when you try and just ignore things. They don't tend to go away. You can try. I mean,
I Yeah, like I think the best example actually with ignoring is a case study between me and a friend of mine that I haven't seen in a while though. But there's a very stark contrast between us. We're about the same age, and I, as a kid, in preschool, my parents were told by the teachers like your kid is something's up with him. There might be like a delay or something. We don't know what to do. My parents made the executive decision to hold me back 1 year in preschool because they believed that had they waited until like fifth grade and then held me back, that I would have been immediately stigmatized because I would have been noticeably older and noticeably more mature than the rest of my peers. And that, beyond all else, would have made me more stigmatized. That would have made me more bullied. than I already was. And that would have made everything much worse. But because they held me back, I was able to grow up normally. I say that in quotes. You can't see that, but I have like quotes. But as normal as an autistic person can be. Yeah. But my friend, he was held back later. And because he was not allowed to kind of grow into and like kind of almost like shorten the gap of delay at an earlier age, it's much more noticeable than it would be in my case. Like, there's still a delay with me. There's still some weird things that I can't really deal with. But instead of ignoring it, my parents actually like recognized it. They took the feedback and they immediately exacted an action, and that has allowed me to go to fucking college and survive for the most part as of now. I think in a culture that actually recognizes, understands, and puts into action things that help people with mental illnesses or any kind of delay or things like that, it just makes everything better. But if you're in a culture, so help you God, if you are in a culture that stigmatizes you, you are going to be so delayed in so many different ways. If you are autistic and you are in a place where you just aren't allowed to go through the courses that help you understand social cues and help you understand a rather important thing, I think, is sarcasm, then you will be actually held away from what you could probably have been. It's not an everything, but you know, I that's what I think. Anyways.
I get what you mean.
I
I
probably
mean,
babbled on a bit much, but whatever.
basically, what I did, because I haven't been diagnosed because my parents won't really take me to a psychiatrist. But they're pretty sure I'm um autistic and schizoaffective, and none of this has been dealt with really in any way. Um, and I remember how I learned things was I would just you know how the basic thing is with autism you don't understand social cues or anything like that. I
Yeah,
I would literally just copy people. I would mimic them to
that
an
is,
extent of just basically I was them, and basically I do that with many people, and that's how I just came to develop whatever. That's why I repeat
you
things
know,
a lot over and over again, so I can do it pretty well.
that is actually very indicative of a form of autism. Uh, if you don't have the proper, I guess, training in a sense, like I don't know. I don't like thinking about training because it just makes me think of like an entire boot camp of
Would
fucking
learning be
autism.
better, or
Yeah, learning you better. Yes, that's because that's a lot better of a sentence
yeah?
than fucking. Um, but I think, yeah, copying is indicative of undiagnosed autism. Uh, Especially if you are trying to understand other people, but you don't have the capacity to really understand or maybe recognize that you're not supposed to be like if somebody's crying and you don't understand why and you start crying, think people are going to think you're fucking weird. Or if one person's angry and then you just get angry for no reason, people are going to look at you funny. Like, there's a reason why special ed classes are actually important. At least not like the classes where like the kids are uh, only taught like like maths and shit. I'm talking about like the classes where they are taught social cues and like in this situation, what are you supposed to feel? And you're literally like hands led through the situation until you get it right. Like that kind of shit. That is really important.
Yeah, you know how
And
long it took me to understand sarcasm?
oh
I
god.
just fucking fake laugh, you know? Um, until I was eight, it took me a while. It took me so damn long. Like, I understood the concept. Like, I could tell you the definition of it since I was like 7, but I didn't truly understand it till I was like at least like 12.
Well, yeah, I mean, even for me, and my dad's a fucking sarcastic guy. Like, he is. I think he's the only reason why I actually understand it. But I even still, I'm not perfect. So like somebody will like be sarcastic, and then I'll take them seriously, and then they'll go, wait, no, I wasn't being serious. I'm like, God damn it, I should have recognized that. Eh, I'll, those kind of situations kind of.
Anyways, I think we're off topic here.
Yeah, a little bit, but
Uh,
I mean, it all still revolves around mental health. I mean,
and then that, of course, goes into the bigger sphere of health, and then to health care, which is part of health. Um, but let me see here. What else do we need to discuss? Because we've somewhat discussed, strategy of, single payer, public option, or the hybrid one, and then like what specifically would be required. Because plastic surgeries aren't required.
well, it depends on the plastic surgery, I suppose. If you have a nasal problem that affects how you breathe, then that's 100% a required thing.
That's fair. But usually that's I don't know.
Well, well,
I'm
I know this is kind of stupid, but like, there's an episode of The Good Doctor where a girl was severely injured in a car crash, and her face, uh, her to quote her, looks like a piece of bubble gum. Um, and that affected. I mean, she was able to do things as a normal person, but her face held her back from actually interacting like a normal person, with other people interacting with her like a normal person. So people would kind of treat her differently. I think in those cases, perhaps plastic surgery or other kinds of surgery would be beneficial to a general helpfulness of a person's life.
I get what you mean. Let me think. I feel like there should be, more of a standardization of what things should cost at hospitals. Because, you know, different hospitals have different prices for like literally everything. Um,
Oh yeah.
which is kind of stupid, you know, like maybe slight price differences, but some of the price differences can be ridiculous.
Oh, some of the prices can be astronomical.
Yeah, like they can be hundreds or like maybe tens of thousands of dollars different from another hospital that you could find maybe across the same town or
And in certain situations, you're not going to have a fucking choice, are you?
yeah.
So like you're not going to be in the back of an ambulance like unconscious and on your wrist is going to go, can you take me to this hospital? Like you're not going to have that like tattooed to your fucking like that'd be smart. It'd be a smart way to get money. But if you move that, then the
I
tattoo's
mean, that would be a
fucked.
pretty big brain move. Uh,
But like the people aren't good. Like in the heat of the moment, you're not gonna go to your the person that's like taking your gurney and go, please go to the hospital on 123rd. And then like you pass that. Like
Yeah. I mean, like, you barely get a request of anything, like, before you're taken into a hospital. Like, all I was told before I go to like any mental hospitals, don't go to the one Tacoma, go to the one in Auburn because they have pudding that's a lot better than the great value they buy at for the Tacoma one. That's all I've been told.
the pudding. That's the only thing that fucking matters.
Well, you see, apparently they never had chocolate pudding at the Tacoma one, but they would have it at the Auburn one. So
What?
I
Why the fuck is that so specific?
I
Why
don't
the what shitty ass hospital only carries vanilla pudding?
I know, right? It was a mental it was a mental hospital, but you know.
Even more so then. Like what happens if you have a fucking like sociopath who like only opens up if he has fucking chocolate pudding? What is the doctor like, do you expect the doctor to go out to like Fred Meyers and go, okay, here's some pudding? Like
Confused as to
I
why
think
they
we're
wouldn't
getting caught
have
up
it.
on the fact. I think we're getting caught up on the pudding and like not the actual hospital itself.
I'm still laughing at the fact that LC Pone said heat of the moment.
Yeah, that
just,
makes sense. So no,
just
you can't get us copyrighted.
Oh, and cold of the gradual time. Cold of the gradual time.
Um, from what I know of mental hospitals, and this is mostly from my psych professor who worked at a ton of them. Um, basically, they're an interesting business to try and uphold because you're mostly living off of taxes. Um, because mental hospitals aren't like normal hospitals where they get patients, sometimes patients who just come in to see if there's something wrong with them. No, mental hospitals are if there is something wrong with you. Um,
like it has to be a certain
like
thing,
yeah,
right?
it has to be at a certain point to something wrong with you. I mean, eventually people do leave mental hospitals, obviously, because some people can be helped. Like if you're severely schizophrenic and you're threatening your family, you're taken to a mental hospital. But eventually, after properly being probably medicated and taken through therapy, you can be reintegrated into society. Doesn't isn't that bad? I mean, um, but like it's an interesting business, and apparently, like the one he went to, I don't remember quite where it was, but it was somewhere on the Sound. Um, he's worked at like three different mental hospitals, near like you know between the Seattle Tacoma area, and he learned different things from each of them. And like apparently in the one that he worked for the longest, every other mental hospital was being bought out by like this big company who didn't care about like their patients at all. Um, and basically that was because those other mental hospitals just took the quick cash of them trying to, get homeless people in there, but they could only have them for a certain amount of time. But the thing is, like they said, if they failed to do this many reintegrations, then they would stop giving them money. They thought it was just for the like special thing, but they were wrong. So they all went out of business, and so they were bought out by a worse company. And then later on, the one company that survived bought out the rest because bought out the ones that were shitty because they were like, we shouldn't have these shitty companies on the Sound. So now they're just one big company who are just
Yes,
like, fuck you.
they were bought out by Monsanto.
Yes, Monsanto. um,
The horror. they're only fed Monsanto corn.
Oh no,
They're
not
putting
the golden rice.
they're putting GMOs in the vanilla great value pudding.
And you know what's even worse? All the pudding is corn flavored.
No.
Everyone else sad face. People in Iowa.
Wait, wasn't it like, doesn't South Dakota have the corn festival or whatever? Or is it?
South Dakota does, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Suck it, Iowa.
even though it wasn't, doesn't Iowa have more corn though?
Yeah, it's weird because they do produce more corn than South Dakota, but South Dakota has the corn festival, if not mistaken.
Yeah, it was either North or South Dakota. It was one of the Dakotas.
Iowa, yeah. Iowa
It-
doesn't have like a dedicated one. They have festivals that have to do with corn, but like I don't think they have like a dedicated like corn festival per se,
Yeah.
which is really weird.
Yeah. But anyways, the back to actual healthcare, because mental hospitals don't really have much to do with healthcare, uh, or as much really. They do require insurance, unless like the patient is to a point where like they're required to be put in there. Um,
Right.
By like a prison or something.
yeah, if they're required by like a prison or something, then yeah. But if you are severely mentally ill and you do not have insurance and you are not requested by the like police or a jail or really just authorities of any kind, um, to be put
Your
in
shit out
there,
of luck.
you're out of luck. Um, because those things are expensive as hell.
Oh, I would expect. I would expect that. Yeah.
Even though people definitely need it. So sometimes I I remember my teacher actually told me about this. Sometimes people will just get arrested on purpose to be put in the mental hospital because they know they need it. Um, and
I
I can,
mean,
yeah, I can get that because like they they can't afford it. So only real way to do it is get a criminal record,
I mean,
even if it's
I mean,
something as minor as a misdemeanor.
I mean, when it comes to like petty crime or thousands of dollars in debt, I'd rather the petty crime.
Like
Yeah,
arson or something.
No, that's
yeah,
not a petty
yeah.
crime. That's not a petty crime. Hold on.
If no one's killed, it's petty.
Like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, or pirating Grand Theft Auto.
Uh, Wait, no, hold on. Pirate.
It's kind of like how in like the Senate election in North Carolina, the Democratic challenger to the incumbent Republican Cal Cunningham recently was like the subject of a sexting scandal, and people thought that his approval rating would go down. Somehow, either by coincidence or another reason, after that scandal, his approval rating went up by like 4%.
Oh my.
Ah,
This is kind of
yes.
off topic, but like I don't know when else I would ever get to mention that. But he also supports the public option, so I'm going to relate it. At
Ah,
least I think so.
thank you.
Let me look up Cal Cunningham. Go on. Sorry, go
Unfortunately,
on.
the same cannot be said about Mr. Wiener.
Oh yeah. Also, it's kind of ironic, but a lot of people like forget that like Bill Clinton's approval rating also went up after both the scandal and the impeachment. I don't know how that
Wow.
happened. I'll
Wait a
be
minute.
honest.
After the impeachment?
Yeah, his approval rating went up by like 5%. Before he left office, it was like such a good rating.
Ah,
I
yes.
did not have sex with that woman.
Yeah.
So wait, does that mean he got renewed for a second season?
Well, to be
I
fair,
mean, he should have.
this was after the second season renewal already, so he was gonna get it regardless.
Oh, yeah.
One more
Yeah.
year. One more
One
year.
more year.
One. Uh,
Yeah.
um, let's see. I think we've discussed most of the topics on healthcare, and we're about 55 minutes in, I think. Yeah, we're 55 minutes in basically. Um, I mean, what else is there to discuss about the caring of health?
How much I don't care about it.
Uh,
No,
I mean,
actually,
like, to be fair, uh, I'm considering going into politics, when I can run, also known as 2 years from now, because I have to wait for another election.
wait, but don't you have to walk in before? But you you could run.
You gotta learn to walk for.
Nah.
It's such a shitty joke. It's
I
such a
was, the funny part about that Al C. Pone is, I was actually gonna make that joke, but then I was like, nah, that's like too low even for me. And then you did my job
Uh,
for me,
just
so thank
wow.
you. Yeah.
So,
Hey, I gotta hit him with the hard hitting.
Yeah, with the
of
below the
course, of
belt
course.
blows.
Um, and I don't know, maybe Nissan will run, with me.
Yeah, he'll
He'll be
we'll
your
be the
walking
We'll
mate.
be I don't know. Are you running for the House for state, or are you running for the Senate?
I would probably honestly run for United States House. I really don't have. I mean, if it comes up, like if like an opportunity comes up where I can run for state house or state senate, then I'd go for it, of course. But
I
I'm
mean,
kind of
like,
thinking more like
here's the
U.S.
thing though. Shouldn't you run for state government before you run for U.S. government?
I mean, to be fair, a lot of like, I mean, you look at the news, you could name like a plenty of like people who like didn't were not into politics at all, and like who just suddenly have blown up overnight. Like
Yeah,
just look at the past like 4 years.
that's
Do you
fair.
think you'll be running as part of the rent is too damn high party?
No, I want to run as a party that'll win.
The Mike Garcia party. No,
The change,
yeah,
Uh,
no. We
no,
can both be senators from Washington or something.
the
yeah.
No,
change
no.
I mean,
leader.
I'll have to wait longer than you, Nissan, unfortunately. Well, actually, it depends on how
Yeah.
that lines up when we're both
For some
35.
reason, I've always imagined it to work out this way. Like you'll be in like the Senate longer than me because I feel like you would like get on like that sooner than I would. I might
Uh,
like come back from the House and run for governor and maybe win. And then I retire from politics. And then like you'll have like the second senator from Washington who's gonna be super old and they'll die in office. And then like the governor will have to appoint someone and then like they'll appoint me and I won't even have to like I
oh, of
just get to be a
course.
state.
I mean,
Yeah.
basically, my plan is run for Washington State Legislature. I don't know if I'm gonna run for the House or the Senate. Um, I might consider running for the House because I'll be in a more densely populated area by the time I'm running because I'm gonna have to move to Seattle because I'm going to UW. Um,
Right.
but I'll probably run for the House, and I already know my policies pretty well. They're mostly mental health based. Um,
Right.
that's basically what I care about. That's basically my entire premise. Been my premise the entire time, and I have to run as a Democrat because I don't think they will allow a tranny to run as a Republican. Um,
Yeah, no, that's
and
fair.
also I'll be in Seattle, so I'll run as a Democrat.
Yeah. The problem with like me running for Senate is that like that's the statewide election, that's across the whole state. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if I could win statewide. In a House race, it's more like consolidated, maybe. A
yeah.
statewide race, that's really debatable. Um, yeah. It's really funny is like we used to be a red state.
Well, as red as our apples, I'd guess.
Yeah, yeah. I think like back in like the '70s, like for example, to show how red we were in the presidential race with Jimmy Carter, the Democrat, versus Gerald Ford. Our state voted for Gerald Ford, and he lost the general election. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's I'm sorry, I have to so like I made the joke about the apple. You know what I found out recently? The
What?
state fruit of Washington isn't the state like dessert of Washington isn't fucking apple pie.
What is it?
Honestly, I don't know. But it's not apple pie, and that makes me furious because Washington is the biggest exporter of apples in the United States.
Yeah, that's why our state fruit is apples.
Hold on.
Our state fruit is apples, but I don't know what our state dessert is.
I
I
didn't
know
even
the
know we
state
had
des-
one.
I know the state dessert of Utah is Jello.
What the fuck is Nanaimo bars? A layered treat that consists of a graham cracker crust, vanilla pudding, and chocolate. Okay. That sounds good, but it's not as good as apple pie. Nothing's as good as apple. Come on. It's fucking Washington apple pie.
I
Come
don't know. The
on.
Mormons would like to disagree with you there.
Mid mommy.
Yep. When you're literally Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, if I'm like governor, I could also do what Joe Manchin did, where like if a senator dies in office, I can appoint myself to be the senator.
wait, you can do that?
Yeah, you can do that. That's what
Wait
Joe
a
Manchin
minute,
in West
really?
Virginia. That's what Joe Manchin in West Virginia did when Robert Byrd, who served for like 60,000 years, finally died in office. He was the governor. He just appointed himself. His lieutenant governor became the governor, and then
Wow.
yeah, he's still in the Senate, by the way. He won re-election until the midterms.
Wow. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds about right. Um, I mean, it's not impossible.
But I don't think I would want to be in the Senate for too long, just long enough to say that I can just long enough where on like my resume I can say former United States Senator, you know.
You mean 2 years? Maybe
Well,
4?
however, like long, like a special election would. Well, a special election is kind of weird because here's how it works: if a senator dies in office, right? So a senator dies, the governor has the authority to appoint any person of their choosing to temporarily fill the seat. It's called an interim appointment. But you have to have like a special election by like within a certain amount of time. And the special election is like whoever wins the special election only gets to fill out the remainder of the term, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
So let's say like a senator died and they have like 3 years left of their term. A special election winner would serve for 3 years. And then if they want to run again, they would have to run again in like the normally scheduled general election, which is why you have like, for example, like in Alabama in like 2018, there was a special election for U.S. Senate. The senator who won, Doug Jones, won, but the normal election was scheduled for 2020, so he has to run again, even though it's only been like 2 years.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
He was also like the guy who was in the news, because like he's the Democratic senator from Alabama, and like he beat like the child pedophile,
nice.
sorry, the child rapist, pedophile, I should say. Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
And that was like the only reason why he won as a Democrat in Alabama in a Senate election.
That
makes
is
sense.
sad.
And to be fair, he only won by like 1%. As you know, less than 1%. He won by like 0.5%.
Bruh. It's even worse.
Yeah. But
Um,
he still won.
that's fair.
But he's probably going to lose his seat in this upcoming election.
All right. So are we actually now out of stuff to talk about for healthcare? We're an hour in. I think we can, end it here if we
I
not
wanted
need
to
to.
um I wanted to talk about something a little bit less serious, something that Pone was talking about with the college students taking Adderall. I was gonna ask him, do you think that's what the whole plot of Limitless came from? If you haven't seen the
Wow.
movie, it's this guy who like creates this medicine pill thing that helps people like focus more and then like achieve like Einstein level stuff. But like it was
Yeah.
really impure, so like you'd get really sick and then like you feel like you have like the hardest hangover ever. There was like some other like stuff. But he develops this pill where it makes it like genius level IQ without having to take more pills. You just need one pill, and it's called Limitless. And I was thinking, uh, do you do you think that like college students taking Adderall was just like that for the movie,
I
or is there
I
something
think
more about Adderall?
it inspired it. I certainly think so. Because like the joke is like, oh, I have final exams. Let me pop an Addy. Like you have that shit, and or like midterms. Time to take some Adderall. Time to pull an all nighter. Like it's that kind of shit that kind of ruined it. And granted, I mean, I'm looking at it's technically an amphetamine.
Yeah, it is.
It's an amphetamine, but it's not to the point where like if you take it correctly, you're not addicted. Like it's not like a oh
Not
I
yet.
gotta get no fuck off. But I've been taking it for like almost like 9 years, and I mean, it's not addictive. It helps, but it does not like make me go, oh, by the end of the day, I need more. No, I take my
Anyone can be
one.
addicted to anything.
I know that people can be addicted to fucking sugar. People can be addicted to fucking cars.
Please
Literally
don't.
fucking cars.
Yeah.
Please
um,
don't.
But
so
uh, yeah, that Limitless was almost 100% inspired by the at least in more extreme colleges, the culture of oh, let's take an Adderall before finals, like that sort of shit. Eh, I mean, hey,
all right.
I
I think that's where we're gonna end the podcast.
am.
Okay,
All
let's
right.
continue talking though because
Yeah.
like
Um.
I have like a confession to make.
Anyways. I'll.
He's finally coming out of the closet.
Yes. Anyways. So thank you for watching the Glasses podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. Subscribe to Mo Games and other associated channels.
That was
Come.
a joke, by the way. I don't think he's actually coming out of the closet.
Probably not.
Unless you are. But I mean, there's no
Um.
judgment from me if you are. If you're not, then just disregard everything I said.
Right, anything you guys want to say to our like 8 viewers?
I hope
Subscribe.
we like this when we watch it.
I don't know how much
Yeah.
we're gonna like it when we watch it, guys.
Well,
Um,
I watched some of the old podcasts and I don't like them that much. I'll be honest.
oh, bruh.
It's only because like I look back and think, dang, I could have said like this thing at this point to add like stuff to the conversation.
Well,
Well,
it's too
Maybe
late
we can have
now.
part two. Maybe
well,
we can
maybe
have
we
Yeah.
part
can
two like
do.
later down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyways, uh, you guys, the viewers may see part twos to some of these later, but for now,
I
bye.
love your faces, and I'll see you next time.